Hello everyone, welcome back. In this video we will discuss about the brains and neuron models, just like a big picture overview. So like you recall from the history on deep learning, things were inspired by biological brains and how neurons work. So here is a picture of a brain, and then zooming in a little bit, these are some neurons in the brain. I think this is actually from a mouse brain I took from Wikipedia, and here's a zoomed in version of a particular neuron. Here I think you can nicely see that neurons are connected to each other, and this is a specific type of neuron. It's a pyramidal hippocampal neuron. So it's a neuron in the hippocampus, the pyramidal unit neuron, and there are many different types of neurons in the brain. So this is only one type of neuron. And also the big question is usually, do our brains use deep learning at all? So in human brain, is there some deep learning algorithm running? Actually, I don't think we can answer that with full certainty, because people don't know yet how human brains exactly work. There are still many things that are not clear yet, and many things that are still mysteries. However, I think we can confidently say that it's probably not true, because the brain is very complicated, and deep learning, it performs well and to certain tasks like object detection and so forth. But to be honest, the human brain and the capabilities of neural networks are still very different. Because we don't have artificial general intelligence, I think that it's like an indicator that maybe deep learning works differently. However, recall that there was also this paper by Geoff Hinton where they looked at different learning algorithms. We briefly discussed that in another video, where they were authors. I think it was not by Geoffrey Hinton. He was, I think, the last author in that. Lily Crabb was the first author, but that doesn't really matter. So the gist was that the brain may use type of algorithm that is somewhat related to backpropagation, but even that was not fully clear. So that still remains to be seen. But to be honest, also it doesn't really matter that much whether human brain does deep learning or not, because deep learning, the things we have are actually pretty efficient for certain things that we or some people care about. For example, object detection, classifying objects in the image. Deep learning performs reasonably well, and it's kind of like similar to the analogy of airplane and how birds work. So someone was inspired by whole birds fly, or here in this case geese, and build the first airplane. However, it wasn't that important to exactly mimic the bird, right? I mean, airplanes don't flap their wings, and I think also if you would design airplanes that have flapping wings, it wouldn't be more efficient than, let's say, an airplane uh, without flapping wings. So in that way, it's not always important to make something exactly the same. Sometimes it's just useful to take something that as an inspiration, and then you can develop things on top of it. But they don't have to be exactly the same to be useful. Now, just out of interest, I looked up on Wikipedia the number of neurons, because one might argue maybe neural networks are not as good as the human brain in terms of doing certain tasks, because the number of neurons is maybe different. When I looked up the number here, it says 16 billion, 340 million neurons in the human brain. So here in this case we have 16 billion. If I look at the killer whale, it has 43 billion. So I would say human brain or humans are more intelligent than whales. Also, we can't answer that with 100% certainty, but that's my assumption here. So it can be just a number of neurons that make something more intelligent. Also, if you think back of the large scale language models that I introduced in the history of deep learning, I think the big ones, they are Chat GPT, GPT 3 and 4 and stuff like that. You have to double check, but I think they have like 170, 180 billion nodes in that, and that were the parameters. So in that way, these models are actually even larger than the human brains in terms of parameters, if you think of parameter like a neuron. So in that way, these language models are even more powerful in terms of the computation than human brain, or at least more parameters. And these models don't really perform as well as human brain does. One thing they perform well, it is like memorizing information. So these large scale language models ingest lots of data from the internet, like lots of documents, and can kind of memorize them pretty well. And I think humans are not that good at memorizing things. But on the other hand, humans are better at understanding, which is something that these models lack. So it can't be just the number of parameters, there must be something different. But what it is that has yet to be discovered. And also in this video, we're not going to talk about multi-layered networks and networks with many parameters. We are going to start simple, talking about a simple neural model. So the model of a biological neuron, like a computation model of the biological neuron. So just to recap with what a biological neuron is, a neuron is a nerve cell. So here's a circuit, one neuron, where you have the cell core or nucleus. There are dendrites where other neurons are connected to others, and there's the axon, and the axon is where the signal gets transmitted. So usually signal arrives at the dendrites, then it gets integrated or processed at the nucleus, and then it gets transmitted. If the new neuron is activated to these endings, the nerve endings, they are basically connecting to dendrites of other neurons. So these so-called connections that are connecting to neurons, and whether this neuron provides a signal or not to the next neuron, really depends on what happens in the processing core here, which is something we will talk about. Now, the earliest neuron model, the earliest mathematical neuron model was the McCulloch-Pitts model that was discussed in the history of deep learning. So just to briefly recap, here's approximately how it would look like. So you have the inputs here, x's are your inputs, and then you have certain weights here. So these are the weight parameters, and then this is our nucleus. That's where the signal gets integrated. So it's a weighted sum. So you can also write it as let's say in this case, if you have m inputs, like xm, then you can write it as where you have each input multiplied with each weight. So this is weighted input, and in deep learning we usually call that pre-activation. We use the mathematical letter z. We also call it sometimes the net input. So that's more like a traditional term. So and this value here is then passed on to the threshold function, and when the signal here reaches a certain threshold, then a corresponding signal gets transmitted. So the binary signal means 0 or 1 in this context. So 0 is transmitted if the value of the weighted sum is below the threshold, and 1 is transmitted if 1 is above the threshold. But we will see that in more detail when we talk about the processing or perceptron learning rule and the perceptron model. Now here's an example of an integrate that you can implement with this McCulloch and Pitts neuron. So if you set these weights to 1, then our weighted sum is just x1 plus x2, and if the sum is bigger than 1.5, then it returns a 1. In this case, because 1 plus 1 is 2, so 1 plus 1 is 2, which is greater than this threshold, so you return a 1, and otherwise you return a 0, because if only one of the two is 1, then you won't reach this threshold value of 1.5, and then the output is 0, and this would be an AND gate. Similarly, you can also implement an OR gate. Here the threshold is smaller, so the weights are still 1. You are computing x1 plus x2 and compare that value to the threshold. If both are 1, in this case the value is 2, and 2 is bigger than 0.5, so you return a 1. If one of the two is 1, then also your value is larger than threshold, right? Because 1 plus 0 is 1, it's greater than 0.5. So you also return a 1 in both cases. Only if both are 0, then you return a 0, because 0 plus 0 is 0. So this is how you could use this concept of McCulloch-Pitts model for example, to implement different first order logic functions. Yeah, you can also implement a NOT gate. So I don't want to get into too much detail here, but you can walk through this maybe by yourself. And then another one, can you implement a logical XOR function using this McCulloch-Pitt neuron? So here's the table of XOR function. Can you find the weights here, and can you find a threshold such that this simple model here can implement XOR gate? So this was just a brief introduction. Just think about this XOR question, and we shall see it, is it possible or not together in another video.